What's going on, fight fans? Are you guys ready for some UFC fights this weekend? I'm very hyped. We've got some high power matchups, some knockouts that are definitely going to come, and overall some great opportunities for some Draftkings contests. We have a few large GPPs on Draftkings, a few on Fanduel as well, but my goal with this video is to give you my top 6 picks for Draftkings for GPP contests. I'm going to be running my custom model, running a lot of the statistics, and using my database approach as always to identify the top plays on the slate. So I use this type of process for a variety of sports, not just the UFC. I cover the PGA Tour, NFL, NBA, as well as other sports. So if you're looking for a database approach to taking on DFS, make sure to check out my channel. I don't just have video content, I also have a Patreon page as well. Right now I have it for the PGA Tour, but also for the UFC. On that page, I give my projection for all the fighters on a slate. I also give my ownership projections, whether they're in my player pool, some game theory notes, and also access to ask me any questions you guys would like for your DFS lineup. So it's only $1 for the month. You guys get a ton of value for that. You're gonna get the projections for every single fighter on all the slates. I highly recommend you join. The link is in the description. Without further delay though, let's hop into the top 6 picks. Hopping into the fighters to target, at number 6 we have Darren "The Damage" Elkins, a $7,600 fighter who has plus 130 odds to beat Darren Minner this weekend for the UFC Fight Night. So this is going to be an absolute grappling and wrestling fest between Minner and Elkins. It's going to be one of the target for DraftKings as a result. Since the pricing changes, since all the scoring changes, it really favors people that have control time, can make advances, can also score some takedowns, and that's exactly what you're going to get out of this fight. If you take a look at the matchup, Minner's definitely a grappling specialist, somebody who hardly ever lands significant strikes in the UFC. He also has over a 57% takedown defense. That's for Elkins. So he's going to be able to stuff a lot of those takedowns. He's going to be able to force the fight onto the feet for at least a round and a half. And on the feet, Elkins has a massive advantage. I mean, he's called the Damage for a reason. He's somebody who has a lot of power, even for his size, has a couple devastating knockouts to his name as well. And that's really why I like Elkins in this matchup this weekend. He's somebody who has that KO power, somebody who also can grapple if the game does go to the ground. And that's why Vegas has him as just a slight underdog. Obviously, he's somebody who's a little bit later on in his career, probably doesn't have as much stamina or as much as a chin as somebody like Darren Minner. But in terms of technicality, in terms of their quality of striking, he is definitely outclassing Minner. So I think it's a little bit of a trap spot to play somebody like Minner. So as a result, I'm going to Elkins in this matchup. For my number 5 fighter to target, we have Corey Sandhagen, an $8,800 fighter who is a minus 195 favorite over TJ Dillashaw in the major featured bout for this weekend. He has a 5-inch advantage in terms of his height. He also has a 3-inch advantage in terms of reach against Dillashaw. And Sandhagen has some really good advanced metrics. If we take a look how he stacks up against TJ Dillashaw, he has a 6.85 significant strike per minute average. He hits at over a 52% rate. That is an elite rate. Adesanya hits at like 57 or 58, and that's considered the best of the best. Dillashaw is not as high output, but he does still have 5.37 significant strikes per minute, and also hits on 47% of his strikes. So they're both great strikers. That's why Vegas and the matchmakers put them together here. But as we can see, Sandhagen still has the advantage. Obviously, TJ Dillashaw got caught doing performance-enhancing drugs, got caught doing PEDs, and a lot of people think he's going to regress as a result. Obviously, he's not on them anymore. He's not on the juice. He's somebody who's probably going to come in with less power, somebody who's not going to win in a decision anyways because Sandhagen has the volume advantage. So I really like Sandhagen in this matchup. I think he's going to win by decision. And because this is a 5-round bout, there's going to be plenty of points to be scored. We see that he averages almost 7 significant strikes per minute. That's 35 per round, and over a 5-round bout, that is approaching 160, maybe even 175 significant strikes. He's going to put up over 100 points if he's able to do that kind of thing. Obviously, if Sandhagen lands squarely and knocks Dillashaw out, that's completely possible as well. He'd score even better. So Sandhagen comes in at number 5. He's a sizable favorite. He's also going to be relatively highly owned. So that's why he comes in at just my number 5 fighter. At number 4, we have Adrian Yanez. He comes in at $9,000, a minus 240 favorite against Randy Costa, and somebody in this fight is going to sleep. If you take a look at both sides, Yanez is a finisher by heart with a 62% KO rate and a 15% submission rate. Those are both excellent numbers. But if you take a look at Costa, he has a 100% KO rate. That is insane. That's why I said somebody's going to sleep in this matchup. But the reason why I like Yanez in the Yanez side of this matchup is that he's a huge favorite in the Vegas odds, and he clearly has a power advantage over an even powerful Randy Costa. So while I expect Costa to have a puncher's chance, like I mentioned, I think somebody's going to sleep. I didn't say who. Yanez is a high upside play because he has a reach advantage. He also has a volume advantage. And then again, if we take a look at the tape, the guy has some absolute cannons for that division. Not to say that Randy Costa doesn't. Obviously, a 100% KO rate is insane. But again, he hasn't fought in the UFC very often. Only has one UFC win to his name. Was fighting a lot of people on the regional scene where he scored a lot of those knockouts. So he's a little bit more of a raw prospect. And I'd rather go with the for sure firepower from Yanez. So that's why he comes in as my number 4 fighter to target. Coming in at number 3, we have Jordan Williams, an $8,700 fighter who is a minus 180 favorite against Mickey Gall. So with Jordan Williams, you get a lot of finishing upside on a card without a ton of firepower, to be honest. The matchup against Mickey Gall is going to be a springboard for Jordan Williams. Obviously, Mickey Gall is on the tail end of his career, declining, hasn't won in quite some time. So Jordan Williams, even though he lost in his first bout in the UFC, this is going to be a very good opportunity for the young finisher. He's somebody who got a second start very quickly after that loss because of how impressive he was at the Dana White Contender Series. He scored 2 knockouts. One of them ended up being a first round finish in the first 2 minutes of the fight. And he's getting a lot of respect from the Vegas odd makers in this matchup. He's also plus 150 to win by a KO, so just over even money. So the Vegas odds makers think he's going to probably win by KO. And if in Draftkings and especially in DFS, that's exactly what you're looking for. You obviously get a lot of bonus points for finishing by KO, especially in the first or the second round. And when he's just plus 150 to do so, implying that he has around a 40% chance to get that knockout, I think is a very good pick, especially at $8,700. So that's why he comes in at number 3. No disrespect to Mickey Gall, great career and whatnot. Obviously just on the tail end of that and in a little bit of decline. And number 2, we have Julio Arce. He comes in at $9,100, a minus 220 favorite against Andre Ewell. And we haven't seen Julio in quite some time, but if he can return to the form that we saw before his layoff, this is going to be a great value spot for us to target. Even with a ton of UFC fights to his ledger, he has over a 50% finish rate, over 10 UFC fights to his record, and a lot of those finishes happened in the UFC, not on the regional scene. So obviously has a ton of power. He has a submission game as well. He's very well-rounded. And on top of having a lot of the skills to get those finishes, he's somebody who has a very good cardio and a very high output fighter at that. So he's going to be able to outpace Ewell. Ewell does have a reach advantage. He was able to take advantage of that in his last fight. But somebody like Arce, that's a very technical fighter, somebody who is going to know to close that distance, is going to understand that he can't fight at range. Obviously, Ewell's just going to kick when he's at range and try to score that way. But Arce is going to mix in some takedowns. He's going to mix in some grappling, maybe even some clinch situations and whatnot to keep Ewell off his feet. Arce obviously is getting a ton of respect from the Vegas odds makers. He's going to be a relatively highly owned fighter as well. If he wasn't going to be chalk this week, he'd be my number 1 option just because I have so much confidence in him getting that win, and I also think he has a good upside, but he's definitely going to be a little bit of a chalk pick this week. But coming in at number 1, somebody I think that's going to be a little bit overlooked, somebody that I think could be the highest priced fighter on the slate. I think he's almost guaranteed to win, somebody who's going to win by knockout probably in the first round. That is Punahele, I cannot say your name, man, but you're an absolute stud, Soriano. He comes in at $8,200. He is a minus 110 favorite over Brendan Allen. And again, he's my number 1 favorite on the slate. And he's somebody who has an 88% knockout rate. And he's a huge win his last time out against Dusko Todorovic. Todorovic was a superstar, had come in undefeated, had a few knockouts in the UFC that were very impressive. One of them was knocking a guy out cold, I believe with like 1 punch. It was like to start the second round, he just knocked the guy out cold. Soriano, though, came out and absolutely handed it to him. He was somebody who was a massive underdog, somebody who hadn't fought in the UFC before. But after that performance, and he shows that crazy power, this could be a very good value spot for him. Brendan Allen has a susceptible chin. We've seen him get knocked out before. Brendan Allen wins, but he's able to control the fight. He's able to get some takedowns, use his control time, win that way. But against Soriano, Soriano is very good at his takedown defense. He has over a 50% takedown defense. And even though a lot of that's not in the UFC, it still shows that he has a lot of that technical prowess to him. I think he gets the job done by knockout. I think he's somebody who would win by decision as well. And I think he's a great GPP play on DraftKings. That's all for this week's UFC preview. Let me know in the comments who your favorite play is for this week. I'm going to be picking one of the comments for free access to my UFC projections for the month. So make sure to enter. I'm going to be picking the best play in the comments for next week's video. As always, make sure to like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed the content. It really helps me out with growing the channel, and also make sure that you guys are able to catch my content as soon as I post it. Good luck with your DFS lineups. Let's win some cash, and I'll see you guys for next week's video.